Hello Lagos, up you Lagos. Greetings, wonderful up you community, and welcome to another episode of your favorite radio show, Up You with Ezinne. How are you all doing? My favorite question to everyone, isn't it? I hope everyone is good and gradually finding ways and means of embracing equity in our little corners of the world. It's post-election 2023 in Nigeria, and we're here today to consider the topic, now that we have voted, how did the women fare? It's our hour on the radio, and I'm here to keep you company wherever you may be. So let's do this, my beautiful people. Finding self, finding purpose. My name is Ezinne Kanem, and I'm your host. The topic today is, now that the elections are over, how did the women fare? We're social. Please follow us on all our social media platforms at Up You with Ezinne on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. We'd love to connect with you and keep this conversation going long after this program has ended. Yes, we love you like that, and we love to keep talking with you and getting your input on the things that we're discussing on this program. So today, the topic is, now that the elections are over, how did the women fare? Who is ready for this episode? Yes, your calls to us will let us know that you're really ready. When it comes to breaking the glass ceiling in the private sector, Nigerian women are excelling. But can the same be said in politics and in elective offices? Although women make up almost 50% of the Nigerian population and are active participants on all stages of political processes, when it comes to core political participation, especially with regards to being recognized as candidates and or aspirants for political positions, the question of gender is often thrown up above capacity and qualification. The poor number of women participation and representation in Nigeria's political and appointive offices has raised concerns in many quarters, both locally and internationally. The situation leaves the question of inclusion and equality as proclaimed by the Nigerian Constitution begging for answers. As a post-mortem to the just concluded elections, our guest today will attempt to answer the question, how did the women fare in this election, and what should the women expect as a result thereof? Keep it locked on Up You with Ezinne, and let's learn together. It is now time to bring on our guest for today. Our guest for the show today is Fabia Ogunmekan. She is a lawyer and corporate executive with 21 years post-call experience, working in the fields of law and development across corporate organizations and non-profits in the healthcare, gender, and entrepreneurship space. She has worked for organizations including the Law Union, Pro Natura International, Hygia Group, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and more recently, Women in Successful Careers, Whisker. In her various executive roles, she has held multiple responsibilities for strategy execution, administration, governance, program development, communications, partnerships, fundraising, and stakeholder management. She is a founding trustee of Imara Foundation and also sits on the boards of Montgomery Security Vaults Limited and the Foundation for Cancer Care. Since 2017, she has been a resource person and facilitator on the Lagos Business School's Sustainability Center's non-profit leadership and management program. She is a 2018 Rise Up leader, a 2021 Women Leaders for the World Fellow, and part of the 2022 Vital Voices Leadership Journey Pioneer Cohort. Fabia is an alumnus of the University College London, based Business School, City University London, and the Nigerian Law School. She has also undertaken various executive and continuous learning courses from the Lagos Business School, Stanford University, and Blavatnik School of Public Policy, University of Oxford. More recently, after 5 successful years at the helm of Whisker's executive management, she founded Adaba Initiative, where she leads as principal curator, designing, curating, and executing high-impact social development initiatives and projects. She's passionate about the pursuit of development in Africa and the role of women in enabling that to happen. Dear listeners, friends and family, please join me to welcome our very celebrated guest this morning on the program. Good morning, Fabia.
Good morning, Ezinne. Such a delight to be here. Thank you for having me.
How is it that you have spent 21 years post-bar? You don't even look 21.
I'm not sure about that. So I think image is in the eye of the beholder.
I thought it was beauty.
Or is it beauty? Or age? Should I say age is in the body of the owner?
I know. We are going to talk about this off air.
Age is in the body of the owner. I think that's the right term.
Okay, great. So let's get on with it. I'll quickly open the phone line so that we just get on with the conversation. So the number to call is 0913 6000 410 and the number to text is 0913 6000 430. Please call in. The topic is, now that the elections are over, how did the women fare? So Fabia, you tell us, now that the elections are over, how did the women fare?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we fared well. In fact, it's not a matter of I don't think. Unfortunately, we did not fare well. And let me start with a few statistics. So we know that out of the 18 political parties, 380 female candidates were fielded for elections, and this is specifically for the National Assembly seats, so both the House of Reps and the House of Senate. 92 women contested for the Senate, and only 3 won. 92 contested, 3 won. In total, 296 candidates, female candidates, contested for seats in the House of Reps, and we were only able to pick up 15 seats. So 3 seats in the Senate and another 12 or so seats in the House of Reps. Okay, now let's put that in perspective. That basically brings us to less than 4% in terms of representation, right? Which means that 96% of our elected representatives are male, and we have 4% representation, less than 4%, about 3.5 really, as female representation. In a country where 50% of our population are women, we have 3% representation in the National House of Assembly. And of course, it's the same picture when you look at state level. When you look at the presidential elections, we only had 1 female candidate. So what would we have expected the results to look like? In the governorship elections, we had a couple of women who vied for various positions, but our strongest candidate is now, the results in, I believe, Adamawa State have been rendered inconclusive. So it's not really looking good. And I think the short answer to your question is that we haven't done well. And we haven't done well for lack of trying. It's not for lack of trying. And so the issue is not, because I've answered this question of where are the women. The women are there. We have competent women of capacity, who have capacity and of good character, who ran in these elections, and many more who didn't but could have, right? So it's not an issue of where are the women. We did, in terms of women candidates coming out and indicating interest in participating in these elections, there were quite a few. I mean, there could be many more. I think we'll talk about that, further down the conversation. But did we fare well? Not so much.
Thank you, Fabia. I was analyzing this with someone before the show, and I said 3 in and 3 out, and you just came and said the same thing. So we had 3 women in the Senate, and they were voted out, and then 3 were also now voted in to replace them. Just like our ceiling is 3. But thank you for the statistics. So let's run on that statistics. Yeah, Nigeria is ranked 181 out of 193 countries on the Equality Index for countries with low women representation in government. And you've not even broken it down further to say that it's like less than 4%.
Yeah.
So according to this report by the Gender Strategy Advancement International, women's political participation in Nigeria, they even helped us. They said it was at 6.7%.
That was before.
At that time.
Yes.
So now that we're at 4%, we're actually dropping. Our 6.7 still falls below the global 22.5. Nigeria still falls even below the African regional average of 23.4 and West Africa sub-regional average of 15. So this is really, really crazy. So when it comes to West African sub-region, we're below. When it comes to Africa, we are below. When it comes to the world, we are below. Meanwhile, we are very vocal. We're very vocal women. And when it comes to business, we're very, very up there. What's going on?
Yeah.
Why do you think this is? Because you said that is not because of a lack of trying. So you also said some women came out, but there are many more that could have come out. Is it that we are the representation we have is not generally acceptable? We haven't brought out our best, to come and seek political appointment for political offices.
Yeah.
What's really going on? Why are we this far behind everywhere?
So I think it's a myriad of issues. So let's look at where in the sort of last 20, 30 years, women have begun to find their space, right? As you mentioned, in the corporate private sector, right? And when I say private sector, I use that, to describe both our engagement in corporate life, our engagement as in business and entrepreneurship, and our engagement in the third sector, which is the non-for-profit space, right? We're doing relatively better than we are certainly doing in politics, right? Our participation in Nigeria, for example, in the corporate private sector, in terms of board representation, we're at about 25+%. In terms of representation in on the boards of organizations, certainly at middle management positions, we're doing very, very well when you look across board the indices in the private sector, and where obviously I've mentioned board positions, which are really like the highest realm in terms of leadership in the private sector. In the third sector, which is the non-for-profit sector, which should not be taken lightly, because when you say non-for-profit, anything that is third, if it's not number one or number two, then third is not good, right? But the third sector, which is really a critical space of engagement, which is civil society, right?
When it comes to politics, especially.
Exactly, is you find us playing in those spaces as well, because and why are the results better, right? I'm just trying to sort of paint a picture here. Why are the results better in the private sector and in these other spaces where we find women doing well? It's because the barriers to entry are lower, right? These are more equal and more equitable spaces. You don't have to pay anyone to find yourself in the job, getting an interview for a job, right? So the barriers to entry in terms of getting into these spaces. So with a business, you're starting your own business. Yes, of course, there are barriers in terms of how far can we grow. Yeah. Why are we playing at the SME level and we're not playing at? Do you understand? At the big, the big players in terms of entrepreneurship. But that's a different case. The issue is even in entry, right? Because even in politics, we have to even enter the process is wahala, right? So the barriers to entry are lower, much lower, and we're hoping at some point non-existent, right? In these other sectors, you can get in, right? And it's usually based on merit. It's usually based on opportunity. It's usually based on educational qualification. So if opportunity meets preparedness within the space of private sector and third sector, you are able to get it. And then the rest is now about growing. But with politics, right, even to the amount of money, right, there are barriers, there are financial barriers, there are psychological barriers, there are cultural barriers. There's so many barriers, even in terms of just getting access into the space of conversations. Political parties are run very much by men, right? Dominated by men. The political party system is dominated by men, is dominated by godfatherism, right? So how do we break into these spaces is one of the biggest issues, right? And then all the other barriers, when you eventually do decide, and then even making the decision, let me go one step behind and say making decision. It's easy for me to make a decision and say, I want to become CEO of a company. It's possible. I can start my own company, I can join an organization, and I can, climb the ladder, right? With enough support, with enough mentorship, with enough sponsorship, with enough coaching, with enough networking, I can get there, right? Now, those are the typical things that help women grow and thrive in the workplace. It's, first of all, a level playing field to get in. Second of all, what do you now do when you're in there, right? Your technical competencies and abilities will definitely speak for you, but it can only take you so far. So it's about the networks that you build. It's about the people who see your hard work and decide to speak for you in places where you are not necessarily, there to speak for yourself. It's about other women, other men supporting you in the process. So by mentoring, and by seeking other things like coaching. And with those kinds of, strategies in place, one can grow. But we find that is still lacking in the political space. How many women are even playing to be mentors, right? But there are still a couple of women, and they're doing it, right? So those strategies which work, globally in terms of moving and propelling women forward, building networks, coaching, sponsorships, mentoring, right, need to be addressed and are lacking. Right. Then the other thing is, of course, finance and resources. It's politics is what is it? Politics is a money game.
Capital intensive.
It's a capital intensive game.
And so that already edges the woman out.
Exactly.
So we must really be applauding people like Chichi Ojei of the Allied People's Movement, who came out to vie for presidency. The only woman
Well, there were other women initially in the race, but she was the one.
They all dropped off.
Yes, they all dropped off.
And then, even though she came in at 25,961 votes out of all the millions of votes that were thrown in, it's quite fine. But one thing I find very surprising is that women aren't voting for women. Women are not supporting women in politics. Because we are touting women, supporting women everywhere. And then if we go by the stats that we have, which says 50% are women. So why are 50%? I mean, look at what happened in the just concluded election. LP. People just got to a polling unit. They just take the stuff and go LP across board, irrespective of who was on the ballot paper. Because that's how come we're hearing stuff like someone who used to be an Okada rider has now become a member of rep. Someone who used to be a trader. That tsunami happened. So why don't the women also employ that kind of strategy? Woman.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be fantastic in an ideal world, right? Women automatically vote for, a woman should automatically be voted for by women, right? But I think it's an ideal, but it's simplistic, and I don't even know if that's what we really would want, right? You don't just want to vote for any woman just because she's a woman, right? It got to a point where actually some of the women's organizations were making that point. Like, if it's because we just need a critical mass to get in there for us to see a difference. If it comes to it, if push comes to shove, if she's a woman, vote for her, right? So we may need to apply some of those strategies going forward, right? But I think it's also about the quality of candidates. Women are, because that's who we are, right? We're not, we believe in merit. Our very nature is meritocratic, right? So we don't just want to just let it be anybody, right? So we need more. I'm not saying that the women who ran were not qualified, but I'm just saying that it's not enough to just say women vote for women. But I do think that women support women, and women did support women in these elections.
Okay, so maybe we need women who are more national in outlook.
Exactly.
So they can be accepted from every part of the country. For the
presidential, when we're looking at the highest office, yes, a woman who is more national. But I mean, Nigeria is made up of how many different ethnic tribes? Can we really have one person that is, that we can say she's national? It's what you say.
Yeah, one person that is known all over. Because I mean, I'm sure some people are just hearing this name Chichi Ojei for the first time.
Absolutely. So I think it's not so much national national in your outlook, but it's about branding. There's a lot of strategies that go into presenting. It's about branding, it's about being out there, it's about grassroots mobilization, and it shouldn't be about just one. We want to also have a choice. You had how many different men running? It's not like we had one choice. Even when we knew that at the end of the day it was down to 3 or 4 people in terms of strong candidates, we had a choice, right? We had options. So it can't be that it has to be one woman and then all of us as a token will. Nobody wants tokenism. So the real issue, I think, is that we need a groundswell of women in the next 4 years who will decide to run and who can be prepared really to run for elective office. If we have a critical mass, so it's not just one person, 10 women running. If 10 women run for a position and they're, how many will possibly win? Do you understand? If there are 50 seats or 10 seats out for grab and you have one woman running, what's her chance?
Yeah.
If you have 500 seats up for grabs and only 5 are running, what is their chance? So we need a critical mass of women moving into the political space, qualified women coming from private sector, coming from all other works of life who are doing so well. These women who are icons in the private space, coming out and moving, bringing those talents into the political space. and then let's get behind them. We want women who look like, but have the outlook of Angela Merkel, Kamala Harris, right? Hillary Clinton, who inspire that in us as women to really galvanize behind them. If you brought the Deputy Secretary General of the UN, Amina Mohammed, if you brought Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, right? I'm sure women will galvanize because we've seen them succeed in that sector. Unfortunately, women always have to prove. Like you said, the bricklayer has entered House of Assembly. The mechanic has entered House of Assembly, groundswell. But with women, we always still have to prove ourselves that bit further. That's the journey, unfortunately, that we have to ride for now. But we'll get there.
The number to call is 0913-6000-410. The number to text is 0913-6000-430. You know that saying, if there was no Hillary Clinton, there will be no Kamala Harris.
Exactly.
So the people who have gone ahead need to come and pull up the rest of the women who want to be in politics and mentor them.
Absolutely.
I like what Obi Ezekwesili is doing with her School of Politics.
Yes.
So yes, we need to do that some more and make sure that we are ready for the future. I just want to quickly read something here that I find very interesting before we continue our conversation. It says in Mauritius, the president, vice president and speaker were all women from 2015 to 2017. The country's Chief Justice, Rehana Bibi Mungli Golbal, is a woman. She was appointed in November 18, 2021. Mauritius is Africa's most developed country with 100% access to electricity, free education, free healthcare, free transport for students and old people, and physically challenged. Mauritius is Africa's happiest, best governed, and most peaceful country. It's Africa's best country to do business. The minimum wage is $263 per month, up from $251. Someone just sent in this contribution.
That is so interesting. That is so interesting.
Make una they play, they talk. Look at a country that is already doing what it's talking
Absolutely.
about.
That's actually really interesting because we usually always quote statistics from the Scandinavian countries,
yes,
or the Nordic countries.
Yes.
So it's exciting to see that it is happening
something from an
in
African,
Africa.
yeah.
And East Africa also tells some of that story as well.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on, having painted the picture that we didn't fare well and everything, and the paltry number of women that we have, the 10th Assembly would most likely be a very challenging one, because we are going to have 96% men making decision for all of us women. So given the scenario, what should a Nigerian woman expect in all the different areas of our lives come May 29 up until 2027?
I'm inclined to say not much.
Oh.
And so that we just close and move on to the next question.
That just came out of my brain without my thinking.
I'm inclined to say not much, but we have to be hopeful. When there's life, there's hope. So we have to be hopeful. And just because of the results that we're seeing now is the picture in terms of who made it in. But the positive story is that women are becoming more aware, politically aware, and are becoming interested in running for office. I know, a couple of young women who just, who have been persistent in the game, and eventually we will get there. So we have to keep hope alive, essentially, and we have to press on. And so my hope at this point is that, since we didn't make it in terms of elected positions, we will, hopefully fare better with political appointments.
I was going there.
Fare better with political appointments. A lot of the male candidates and the president-elect and all of that in their manifestos all sort of preached and said they would all be women inclusive, have more inclusive cabinets, and this is across all levels. So we hope that they will hold true to their promises, and we hope that we'll see more women in elected positions. We hope that we will be meet the 35% criteria at the very least. Because women deliver, women execute, and this is tried and tested, and it is showing in every other sector except politics. So I think that the case has been made, the business case has been made. Maybe we just need to make the political case a bit stronger.
And also maybe we just have to have the will, because I think that some of the things that makes women not to really come out is they don't want the slugging. They don't want politics is actually very a dirty game, and most women are not cut out for that. I mean, just look at what happened, what played out with what's this lady's name? The one that is married to Dwa. Who remembers her name? Is running from my head.
Married to who? Sorry?
Udwa.
Oh, okay.
Her name is running away now.
Okay.
Anyway, so I think in her state, I think it was Kogi State or something, they had all sorts of shenanigans. And it's not every woman that is cut out for all that kind of thingy. So we pray that policies get nicer, and then we can come in. Okay, so the president of Women in Politics Forum, Ebere Ifendu, in a recent interview, she said that the only way forward will be to commence activities towards enhancing female participation in politics. According to her, she says the political parties' primaries were largely monetized, and that the processes made it difficult for women to compete. And that's almost what you are talking about, so I kind of want to think that you agree with her. And then, so if you do, what strategies can we put in place ahead of 2027 to militate against not being able to have the money pot to be able to do what we have to do? And also, considering that we've seen one campaign that was quote unquote run shishilessly, are we still thinking that we need a lot of money? We need a lot of money in 2027.
Yeah, I think finance will always play its parts, because I'm not sure which campaign is one that ran shishilessly, but
quote and unquote. Did you see my hands?
Well, I did. So I mean, and shishiless is also relative. It's relative to how much other shishi the other person spends and what we're comparing. So I think finance is definitely, all over the world, finance is definitely important in politics, but we also have to obviously think up other new strategies for real, so for massive engagement, because we're talking about somebody who has national appeal. To have national appeal, you can't sit in Abuja or sit in Lagos and have national appeal, even if you're on the radio every day. You have to travel. You have to go meet the people. You have to go meet the voters and meet the electorate where they are. So I don't know that we can totally eliminate, the cost of running campaigns. But certainly, even the cost of access, we need to look at the cost of access. I don't understand.
That's the cost. That's the real cost right there.
Must we pay 100 million? I don't understand. Must it cost 100 million naira to pick up a form? 100 million naira to show your interest in running? How does that, I'm trying to understand how they even come up with these figures, and what is it used for? To fund INEC and BVAS, perhaps, which worked so well. So,
which worked so well? Did you say that tongue in cheek?
I'm doing like you, quote and unquote.
Oh, okay.
So, in terms of strategy, definitely, I think we need this new National Assembly, the 10th, needs to certainly be looking at passing the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill. And I'm saying that if I can shout it even louder, right? We need to pass the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill, a bill that was thrown out last year. And unfortunately, we still don't have a critical mass of women there who will fight for us and fight to the best of their intention. So they, unfortunately, those 18 or so women across the entire National Assembly will have to, be doing a lot of networking and lots of, influencing, major influencing to help us get that through. But we hope that we will have a lot of he for she's, because really we cannot do this without male allyship. Male allyship is really important. So having that conversation and changing that our cultural narrative. Men have seen that women deliver. In fact, really, women deliver in the corporate world. He for she's who are running organizations sit back, appoint women, and then fold their arms, and the job gets done. So I'm saying that it is even to the benefit of any male leader to have women in his cabinet, to have women in these positions of power, because they will get the job done. So let us look at our gender and equality bills and any other bill that helps us promote some level of affirmative action and quotas that will help sort of move the needle. At the party, we have the 35% gender, what is it called now? Our gender policy, our federal gender policy stipulates, and that is already ratified.
The affirmative action.
That we should have 35% representation across, but it's the enforcement and the goodwill the goodwill and the political wherewithal to enforce. That's the challenge. So we hope more political parties will look at these laws and these policies and bring them on board. And also there is, our media engagement, awareness creation, just that pushing the agenda or pushing the narrative that women have done so well in all of these other sectors and continue to do well. It makes the business sense has already been made. So we just now need to work on the political case. Women's organizations, women's rights organizations, people like Ms. Efendu and their organizations need to work on what is the sort of narrative that will help us drive the political case for women's empowerment. So having these conversations around, for example, what's happening in Mauritius, what's happening in Rwanda, what's happening in other countries around the world. We are not worse off. No country has ever been known to be worse off because it has women at the helm of politics.
True.
Or has women participating. So why not us? Why not us?
Having said all of this, we didn't do so well at the national, but I think women also picked up a bit on the subnational. I was actually hyped up and looking forward to getting the first female governor in Nigeria. And now, like you said, it's been termed inconclusive. This has happened before to two Amazons, one in the person of the present Minister for Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talin, and then also Mama Taraba, Senator Aisha Al-Hassan. Both were on the verge of making it as female governors in Nigeria, and their results were suddenly stopped and inconclusive, and then he went into voicemail. So do you think that any magic is gonna happen that will bring
and isn't it, magic is the word. Magic is the word. And just like you said, it almost feels like history repeating itself.
Second time, deja vu.
And so given all the drama, first of all, that we saw during the elections, during the general and state elections, by all accounts, I don't think anybody can label these elections as free and fair and equitable across board. I don't think. I think we all know that. So I have my fears, and I'm saddened by my fears, and I can't say that I feel hopeful, but like I said, we have to keep pressing on and continue to do our best. So at this point, it's out of our hands. There will be a rerun, I believe, and well, we hope that this time it will be conclusive. I already just even touting it will be such an historic moment.
Yes,
but she will be one in 35.
Well, let us start from one. Starting from one gives us hope. Starting from one gives us hope. Sometimes I feel like we do too little and then too late. Because as we're speaking now, the men are already re-strategizing even for 2027. And we're just going to go into slumber until the civil society organizations wake up, say in 2026, and begin to say, okay, election is just next year. Do you think that women can actually have an agenda, have a strategy, and then drive for it and put out our best collectively, and push out our best, so that 2027, that which we seek, that which we say we want, will begin to happen for us?
Absolutely. And I think you said it all. I think it's about starting early. It's about starting early. Typically, in the male-dominated world of politics, we know the intentions of people. Our president-elect, for example, Emile Ocon, he's been desiring this for a long time, and we've all known that this has been his greatest desire, right?
So we got to know it is my turn. You see the long-term planning?
Yeah.
So
exactly
they've actually said it's going to go like this, turn by turn by turn.
Exactly.
So what are the women doing?
Yeah. What are the women doing? I think we're licking our wounds and we're trying to heal from what has just happened. We have to take stock, right? In any good strategy, you look, to what has happened. You try and learn the lessons, and then you begin to plan your strategies for, So I think the first thing, as we've identified, is that we should start early. We know that we have more than able, more than qualified women. We just really need to, as a women's group, as women, as groups, as a movement, really desire this for ourselves and begin to think, it's like I said, it's not just because women won't vote automatically because a woman is running, right? Maybe we need to also begin to change some of that narrative and work on women and work on our psyche, right? To say this is at some point it has to be about this, but then let's also begin to look for female candidates at every level, at the presidential level, at governorship level, for to represent us in the various houses of assembly, that we can begin to really galvanize behind, and then begin to build their capacity, right? For those that need capacity building, begin to employ strategies like I've said, like mentoring, sponsorship. Let's hear documented stories from those who have made it, from the few who have made it. What were the strategies? What did they do? How, when did they start? What, who did they reach out to? Let's learn from true life case studies of those who have succeeded, and let's begin to deploy that, and hopefully we'll see some change. Let's also begin to mobilize resources. In some countries they have a women's party. It doesn't necessarily need to be, we don't necessarily need to go that route. In some countries, they have quotas. We've spoken about that. So if we're really serious, we need to obviously have a strong group, make the political case to our he for she, our male allies. They dominate the space. They control the resources, unfortunately, right? So we must bring men on board these conversations, and we just must have
men supporting women,
because we can't do it. We can't do it any other
alone,
way. And like they said, these men have seen it work. They have seen it work in the private sector. It can work here. What we can bring as women is the kind of mobilization power which we bring to the civil society space. And what we need men to do is to bring their support and their financial resources and nominate us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very quickly, 1 minute. That's what you've got. Can you tell us about your new project?
Well, my new project is still evolving. You read out my bio so very nicely and kindly. Thank you. So it's really bringing a culmination of all that I have sort of done and experienced in the last 20 plus years into a space. So like you, I like to define myself as a multi-hyphenate.
Give me 5 over here.
I heard it didn't connect well. I heard you say all the things that you defined yourself, and then you said and more.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I would like to do with Adaba. I'm very interested in women. I'm very interested in empowering women, and that's what I've really done over the years in every job that I've found myself in. Women have been at the bedrock of the work that I've done. So was it in entrepreneurship? Was it, in the space of healthcare? I've always found a way to a way of the expression of raising women up. So that's what Adaba is going to continue to do. It's going to continue to create opportunities and platforms, especially for women in the social sector, to connect, and to be empowered, and to continue to do the great work that they do, amplifying the work of women in the social sector, more or less, but also expressing so many other things that I bring to the table: project management, etc., etc.
Give someone a step, they take a mile, and that's Fabia for you, going on and on about Adaba. Okay, so everyone, Adaba to the world from here.
Thank you.
You go look her up, and then it will be nice to get in her space and get yourself prepared for 2027. I don't even know why Fabia is not running, but I will not even pursue that.
Someday soon.
We'll hold you up on that. Do you have anything to say, Toby? This conversation has gone on so long and coming to an end.
This is a very, very interesting topic that we must begin to take beyond, our little circles. When we see women stepping up to the game of politics, we can easily just encourage them and pulling our weight behind them, really, based on the fact that they're competent. That's really the first thing.
And the future belongs to young women like you, right? The future belongs to young women like you, and so it's interesting to also hear your voices, because you are the ones coming behind, and in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, it will be you.
Yeah. Thank you. And on that positive note, we bring today's show to a close. It's been an absolutely amazing hour with you, Fabia.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything that you do and your support, to make sure that women are thriving. We will certainly live up to your expectations of us, and then we will take our space by the storm. I doff my hat for you again and again. So, dear woman, my take today is that we haven't fared very well at the polls this year. However, we're not giving up. We're going to pray. We're going to work hard. We're going to go for the appointive positions and get ready to contribute our quota to nation building. And then we'll go again in the ring in 2027 and fight to ensure that at least we have that 35% affirmative action. So this is where we wrap up today's edition of Up You with Ezinne. It's been another amazing one as always. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Up You with Ezinne. Make sure you get copies of our books. You will thank me. Yeah, thank you everyone that is involved in creating this, my dear listeners, our guests, our advertisers, callers, engineers on duty, the amazing Up You team, 98.3 Mainland FM, the sound of Lagos. You all stay strong, stay blessed, stay lifted. My name is Ezinne Kufreka, and until I come your way next time, it's Up You.